Hi all, I'd like to welcome you to Holistic African Spirituality. This is a channel that will be addressing spirituality as African people, and it's a channel that is here to breathe new life into all Africans by reminding all of us that we have a very rich heritage, that our ancestors paved the way for us, and that there is nothing wrong in us going back and reconnecting with our ancestors, and especially through our spirituality. Now, we all know how Christianity came about, and how Christianity over the years, many years, has demonized our spirituality, has demonized our ancestors. When I was growing up, one of the questions that really troubled me was the state of my ancestors, because when you look at the number of years that Christianity has been around in Africa, you can only but question what happened to all those millions of Africans who passed on or transitioned without having had or known anything about Christianity. Those ancestors of ours, they were not ungodly men and women. They were not evil, as Christians or people who profess to be Christians would want to tell us. They were and are wonderful human beings. They are great. They are wonderful human beings. They are great. They were great. They are great, and they'll always be great people, because this is who we are. We are the extension, right? They live in us, and we live in them. This is an introduction, just to say that I'm an ex-Christian and ex-ordained Christian minister. I preached what I would call the gospel according to the Christians, the Christian religion, over many years. I've been around with different Christians from different countries, and also I'm a theologian, having spent many years studying theology, and having many questions over the years, and finally I'm back to where I belong. I'm back to my ancestors. I've reconnected with my ancestors. I have reconnected with my spirituality as a black person, as an African, and there's nothing wrong in it. The only thing I can say is that I have lost over 99% of my Christian friends, because once you move away from the Christian religion, or I think any other religion, you are looked at as someone who has lost their way. But actually, I haven't lost my way. What I've done is I've rediscovered who I am, that I belong, that I cannot run away from who I am. I cannot run away from my heritage. I cannot run away from the spiritual practices of my ancestors. And I've also, having studied theology for many years, having understood church history, and many other issues, it's so clear to me that that Christianity or any other religion or any other foreign religion isn't the way forward for Africans, and it will never be. And that's why we find that people are looking for something, and what they're looking for, they think that it's outside of themselves. It's out there, but actually black people, Africans, we need to start looking inside. Who are we? How did we arrive here? Who are we? Where did we come from? We came from our ancestors. We came from those people that missionaries called evil people, evil men and women, and godly men and women. Right? That's where we came from, and that's who we are. So I am here to encourage all Africans wherever they are, in Africa, outside of Africa, and that we should never feel sorry. We should never feel that like we owe anyone an explanation as to why we are sticking to our spirituality. It's very interesting because it's almost we are the only ones who try to explain to people that this what we're doing is not evil. We also can do this and that. You can even come and join us and see what we're doing. We try to give reasons to be accepted. We want people to accept us. But African spirituality isn't about accepting people. That's not why our ancestors never practiced it, any spirituality to be accepted by anyone out there. It was very, very clear. Our ancestors were not religious people. They were not religious, but they were spiritual people, because spirituality is the highest achievement for a human being. When we are all, especially as Africans, we are spiritual human beings. We are spiritual beings, right? We cannot. Religions separates people, and there is no other religion. Religions are not. They're not tolerant, right? They never accept or allow other religions other than themselves, other than those particular religions, to prosper, to be accepted. And I put across that the reason why we have Christianity in Africa, or why Christianity was accepted in Africa, is because our ancestors, they were tolerant people. They allowed these guys with this other new form of view of God, they allowed them in. Why? Because all the people groups in Africa had their own spiritual system. So there were many, and there are many even today, many spiritual systems. But these spiritual systems, they were not fighting or competing with each other. You never find anywhere any history of this people group, this tribe taking their spirituality to the other group, or going and sort of killing people in order for them to accept their spirituality, their way of looking at life, looking at who they are, looking at who their God is, and everything, that holistic aspect of their particular spirituality or spiritual system. It never happened. But we see, even today, the kind of wars that are being caused in families, in towns, in cities, in countries. We know what's happening today in different parts of Africa, where this religion is fighting that religion. But the thing is, when you look at it carefully, these people who are professing to belong to this religion or that religion, all these religions are foreign to Africa. They were unknown by our ancestors. They are very, very, when it comes to spiritual systems or even religious systems, they are very, very young, right? So Africans are fighting, and the wars, these religious wars, are very interesting in the sense that these wars are caused by Africans accepting foreign gods or foreign faith systems, which our ancestors didn't know of. our ancestors didn't know of. The religions that are making people to fight in Africa are religions that were brought by foreigners, not religions that of spiritual or faith systems, or say not faith systems but spiritual systems that were started by our ancestors from the days of old. Our ancestors never used to fight. Check out from whichever country you're from, whether you hear that this tribe would go and fight that tribe because they didn't accept their spiritual system. It never happened. So it's very important for us to look at everything holistically, and our African spirituality does exactly that. Right? It does exactly that. It addresses all areas in our lives. That's very, very, very important. But one of the things I'm here for, and we're here for, as holistic African spirituality, is to remove the stigma. There's a lot. The stigma attached to African spirituality. It's crazy. It's literally crazy, because it's like when you start talking about your ancestors, when you start talking about your spirituality, it's like people look at you like you've joined a devilish cult or something. People look at you and they say, "Oh my God, he's backslidden. He's the devil has won him over," or whatever. And it's like now you're this person who's like odd, a very odd human being, a very strange human being, just because you're talking about your ancestors, just because you have embraced and you're continuing to do what your ancestors did, the men and the women who are the reason for you being here. So black people, I'm going to tell you something, Africans, listening to this, it's very important to understand that the reason why you're here today, we are here as Africans, wherever we are, is because of our ancestors. We are the extension, right? The features that you have today, when you look at yourself in the mirror, they were not brought by these foreign religions. No, you are as a result of your ancestors. Right? Those people that Christianity and other religions calls evil people. They are your very reason. You bear their DNA. You bear their eyes, you bear their nose, you bear their head, you bear their hands, you bear their everything. All your organs, everything. You are here, you are alive, you are living because of them. And you can't get away from it. And our solution to all the problems that we have, they will be found in our spirituality. They will be found in us going back to the practices of our ancestors' practices. And of course, an African spirituality is progressive. This is, when people say, "Oh, should we now go back and start doing this and that?" I'm like, no, it's African spirituality is progressive. It goes with time, grows with time, right? It's not just there. So we so this thing of do we now start doing this? Do we now start doing that? Of course, their foundations to whatever spiritual system that you belong to, and their foundational, I would say, principles, and foundational stones that are there. But you can't point a finger. You can't say that there is something evil with our spiritual system or systems, right? So we'll be addressing a lot of things, and I can suggest that as I've said, like right now, there black people were killing each other, Africans were killing each other based on whichever religion they come from. And as long as you as an African will continue to look at another African based on their religious affiliation, you look at that African as an enemy. And that's the purpose of these foreign religions that encroached our land, our wonderful continent, is to make us have these divisions. So when you look at me, you don't look at me as an African. No, you look at me as a human being who represents a certain religion. And so if your religion, if your faith-based system does not agree with my religion, with my faith-based system, then we're enemies. And our God is against your God. My God is against your God. So what do? We fight. We fight over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever gods that are represented by different religions. And it becomes a very big mess. But if I or you look at me, we look at each other as, whoa, he's my brother, he's my sister. There's no need to fight him. Why do we fight over what other people believe in? Right? Why? It's not our business. As Africans, our business is our African spirituality. Right? If you go to any place where people practice African spirituality, they'll accept you. People will accept you as an African. They'll be like, this is my brother and my sister. Right? They won't be saying this is belongs to this sect, this Christian sect, or that sect belongs to this religious group or that religious group. No, you will be accepted as an African. Why? Again, saying African spirituality is tolerant. African spirituality seeks to accept, seeks to teach, seeks to understand where you're coming from, seeks to answer the questions that people are going through. The chaos that have been caused by Christianity and other foreign religions in Africa and the lives of Africans is untold. It's a disaster. It is a disaster, and it will continue to be a disaster until we go back to where we came from. We go back to the practices of our ancestors. We go back to doing and what they were doing. We go back to understanding why they were doing what they were doing. So my fellow brothers and sisters, Africans, wherever you are, I just want to welcome you. I just want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in. And just to say thank you. I'm grateful to, for example, like the brothers from Haiti, with their religious, with their spiritual practice of voodoo. They've kept things going. They've kept our spirituality alive. We go to Brazil, same thing. To Cuba, same thing. In America, New Orleans, and other places, there are great Africans, men and women who have kept our spirituality alive. You go to Nigeria, Ifa, and other spiritual practices. Same thing. You go to Uganda, Kenya, all these countries, South Africa, right? They are spiritual systems which are somehow, somewhere overlap, because we are one people, right? We are one people, and this is our spiritual system, our spirituality define us and define almost everything that we do. So if we run to the beliefs of others, the beliefs of non-Africans, the beliefs of people who came and told us that your way of looking at God, or your way of understanding God, your way of understanding nature, your environment, and yourself is evil. Then it explains why almost every now and again we're harvesting evil, because we cannot call the people who are the reason why we are here evil. And I tell people this: you cannot disconnect yourself from your ancestors. It's impossible. You can't do that, because you bear their DNA. They're the reason why you're here. You can't do that. You may try, you want to think. Other religions may tell you, or when you come to us, we pray for you and we make sure that we disconnect you make sure that you're disconnected from your ancestors, and now you're a new creature, you're a new being, and the old has passed. This is a new you. Though there's no new you. If a test were to be carried out, a DNA test, it will trace you back to your great whoever, who is African, somewhere in some village somewhere, in some country somewhere, and who had his on their own spiritual system. So this is a very deep topic, wonderful topic, and we'll be addressing a lot of issues, because there are a lot of, and personally, having been in the Christian church, having been in leadership for many years, having worked with a lot of people from different countries, Christians, and the only thing I can describe personally is I have seen a lot of horrific things. I've experienced a lot of things which, through my experiences, and of course through my research as a theologian, I can say confidently that there is no God who is coming to save us as black people. There is no God, there is no saviour who is coming to save us. And a perfect example is slavery. Even I can give 1,001 example, but a perfect example is slavery. This God who we go to worship every Sunday, every now and again, and we sing to and we do all these things, never saved our brothers and sisters when they were being killed, tortured, when they were being raped, when they were being thrown into the sea. He didn't save them, because he's not our God and he's got nothing to do with us. And it doesn't matter how long or how much you call this God, and how much you sing to this God, and how much you do to. He's not your God, and he'll never be your God. Why? Because we have our own God as Africans. Some might say gods, but we do understand that God is one, and we have our own ways where we access, and how we access him or her or them. They're different spiritual systems with different ways of understanding who we are and our connection, right? And our spiritual system, they tell us that there is no that disconnect between us and God, right? An argument again can be made that your God also didn't save African spirituality, didn't save Africans from slavery and so forth. But that's an argument, right? It's an argument, and it's a valid one. And we have to understand that that Christianity had a lot to do with it. There's a lot of violence that came from Christianity, to the point that our brothers and sisters, our ancestors who were enslaved, there's a point that they essentially became prisoners of war. They were prisoners of war, and part of that war was a religious war, right? Part of that war was a religious war, and a lot of people became traitors. They became traitors, and they were selling they became sellout. Right? There's so many in so many countries, even during the struggle for independence, where the freedom fighters, the number one traitors and betrayers were religious people. They were Christians and other religious groups, because they were looking at the men and women who are practicing African spirituality as evil people, as people who didn't have a place in God. And in their mind, they are God, the God of these foreigners. So you understand, it was war. Unlike today. Then it was war. A lot of Africans were killed because of not accepting these foreign gods. So it was war. It wasn't the case of our God not saving us, or our spiritual system not saving us. But even during that experience, you can see that the slaves who were taken away from Africa to different countries, they kept their spirituality alive. That's why I'm talking about places like Haiti. I'm talking about places like New Orleans, Brazil, Cuba, right, and other places. These Africans kept their spirituality alive. They knew that they were being fought. They knew that this was war, and they kept their understanding of their worldview, their spirituality alive. And it's because of them that we have the spiritual systems that we have today, because they understood that. They were like, okay, we are fighting, we are being killed, we are being imprisoned, we are becoming prisoners of war, and all these things are happening to us. And because, for example, like Christianity had a huge backing, right? It had governments backed Christianity. In fact, I can say that without Christianity, it was impossible for colonization to take place. But that's one of the topics that I'll be addressing shortly, right? So we have there's a history. There's a very, very deep history of our spirituality, and African spirituality predates all other religions, all other spiritual systems. Right? I haven't even gone to Kemet, to Egypt, to talk about the spirituality in Egypt. Right? I haven't talked about the plagiarism that took place, where the Christian Bible was highly influenced by the events in Egypt. It happened many, many years ago, thousands and thousands of years ago. So what am I saying? I'm saying that our spirituality, though diverse, but it has a point of convergence, and but never fights. You never find people are fighting. Yes, different tribes and people are fighting, but they are fighting for land, they were fighting for animals, they were fighting for other issues, but not because of you believe in my God, or if you don't, we're going to kill you. No, there were no more fights for survival, fights for land, for water, for animals, for expansion. Like these these were fights that were happening, and no one can say that that people lived like there was no fights and it was all peaceful. It was peaceful because, again, they didn't have wars. Like you never read any place where a particular tribe went to this tribe and killed everyone, killed their women, their children, their men, no. War was between soldiers. You have our warriors, we have our warriors, right? We've invaded you, you've conquered us. What do you want? Then they'll get what they're getting and they'll continue. So I'm not trying to point a picture here of, oh, we were perfect, everything was fine and there were no wars and there were no this and that. No. But the foundation still remains, that you never hear of religious or spiritual wars happening. It doesn't happen anywhere in Africa. We don't have any. I haven't come across any data that supports that at all. Anyway, as I said, this is an introduction to holistic African spirituality, to encourage you, brothers and sisters. If you're there, you've been practicing our spiritual systems, thank you so much for upholding. And you're actually the reason why people like myself, who are Christians for many, many years, have come back home, because of your supplications. You never stopped practicing. You never stopped doing the right things. You never stopped. You kept that energy going, right? And you knew, like I know today, that many people, many Africans who will listen to this and who will listen to other spiritual leaders, African spiritual leaders, they're going to rethink who they are, and they're going to want to have true peace, because true peace will never be found in any other foreign god. That God wouldn't bring peace in your life, or in your family, or in your home, or in that God will never provide anything for you, or no matter how much you want to believe. But your spiritual system, right, your spirituality, you need to go back and find out where you come from, and what your ancestors believed in, or what not actually believed in, but what they practiced. Because it wasn't so much about their belief. It wasn't faith-based, right? Our spirituality isn't faith-based. We are not doing this by faith. And I tell people there's two things. It's either you know God or you don't know God. It's not the issue of believing Him. The issue of belief it's neither here nor there. You can believe in anything you want to believe in, right? But the belief is African spirituality is about knowing. There's a certain knowledge that was passed on from one generation to the other. This is what we know of this Creator. We don't believe in Him, or we don't believe in her or in them, but this is what we know. As I said, it's a very, very deep topic. I'm loving it because I'm back to doing what I was brought here to do by my ancestors. To encourage you wherever you are. And something else, do not be afraid. I'm gonna end by saying, by giving a story. It's a little story. I was coming from a shopping and as I was exiting this shopping mall, there was a lady. There were some Christians who were passing on some leaflets for a crusade that they were having, and so I stopped, and this lady was handing over this leaflet. And as she was handing this leaflet, I looked at her and I said, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question? Do you think about your ancestors? Have you ever reconnected with your ancestors?" And she gave me a look as if she had seen a strange animal. She gave me this look. I was with some guys in the car. They started laughing because we all, the guys that I'm close to, we practice African spirituality. So she looked at me as if she had seen a skeleton driving like it was like a skeleton talking to her. Like I was like, "Sorry, I'm asking you, have you ever reconnected with your ancestors? Because you're here giving this leaflet, telling Africans and other people about other people's ancestors." When I used to say we're going to read from the book of Numbers, or we're going to go to Matthew, or we're going to go to Luke, or we're going to go to Acts, or Paul said this, or Peter said this, and whoever said that, these are not my ancestors. These are not your ancestors as an African, and they'll never be. But if you ask someone about their ancestors, they look at you as if you're saying something so strange. But if you talk about Moses, "Oh yeah, Moses is wonderful, he's great. When talk about Sarah, yeah, wonderful, woman of God. But mention an African name. People are like, oh no, we can't talk about that. Yeah, mention an African name. From Somali, from Nigeria, from Ghana. Are we saying we don't have, our ancestors are wicked people? They were wicked, they were evil? We are running from our shadow, Africans. And you can't run forever. You cannot run forever. This is real. And African spirituality is our business. This young woman who was handing these leaflets, she literally walked away from me. She was like, oh, no. And she walked away. But she was handing over a leaflet, inviting people to go and hear about other people's ancestors. But do you have your own ancestors? Yes, we do. Why don't we talk about them? Why don't we elevate them? Why don't we revere them? No, we can't, because we were told by the same foreigners that they were evil people and they went to hell. I am here to tell you that they never went to hell, because hell wasn't made for us. No, we've got nothing to do. I tell people this, hell is not an African concept. So it's got nothing to do. First of all, they're wrong, because that's not an African concept. Hell isn't. Our ancestors never spoke of hell at all. They didn't know what hell was, or where it was, or whatever. No, they had a different understanding of life and transitioning to that other life, and that's why they were very, very careful of how they lived here on earth. They were very, very careful on what they did. They were very, very careful on a daily basis. Right? I'll end with this. Again, I keep saying I'll end. We do not have a savior or a God who is coming to save us or to protect us as African people. Our only protection, our only salvation is in our own spirituality. So guys, Africans, those who practice Ifa, those who practice Voodoo, those who practice different spiritual systems in Africa and outside of Africa, thank you so much. And we are all together, and we are coming back full swing. We're coming back full swing. I'm one of you, having been ordained, anointed to the orders of another God, to the orders of other people's ancestors. But my ancestors were like, nope, not you. We brought you here for a purpose. You're gonna go in there. You're going to study, right? You're going to acquire that knowledge. You're going to know what goes on, and so that when you talk to our people, you know what you're talking about. So I am here as a theologian. I'm here as an ex-minister, and I'm really, really proud that I'm back home to where I belong. That my ancestors are with me. They will always be with me, each and every day, and they will never leave my side at all. They will never. Some might say it's spooky business. You're right to say whatever you want to say, right? Maybe some few years ago, that's what I'll have said. If someone told me, but I'd be like, oh no, that's some stuff, But I am alive. I was talking to some guys and I was saying I've never experienced the kind of peace that I'm experiencing today on a daily basis. To know that I'm not alone, to know that I'm walking with my ancestors, and to know that they are with me, and to know that they brought me here for a purpose, and to know that there is nothing wrong for me in talking about our God, right? Our spirituality, our essence, and where we came from. So be encouraged, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be talking about we'll be addressing a lot of things. This is just an introduction to talk just talked here and there about what we'll be addressing, what we'll be talking about, and this is wonderful, and we are one. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be strong, man. We are strong, and we know that, as I say, our Savior isn't outside of ourselves, right? We have all what it takes to stand strong and to do that which we need to do, and to stop the bloodshed that's happening in Africa, in families, people warring because of different religion or belief systems. That's where the solution is. We will come up with a solution. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.